Okay. We're about to start Matt's community rules hearings. If there are, I have 2 copies of idea 13 with me right here. I've got one in my room. But if I haven't sent you one and you want one of these 2, please come and get it. We'll put your name down. And if you're looking around and most people have it. So, do I understand correctly that this is being recorded? Correct. And we'll be able to get access to the recording later, so we don't have to remember what anybody says here. Fabulous. Folks, we're gonna get started on underlining. You can come on in and sit down. And we'll not make a round table, but we'll make a round virtual round table or pretend round table. Do we have anybody else online with us or? Cat. Cat's here. Okay, Mary Ellen and Murray, and I think there's that boss there. We're pretty started, so come get started with us. Thank you very much for sticking around and everybody. If you were here, at the beginning of open ceremonies, I kind of introduced it a little bit. If you've been looking at the, folks in the back, could we either join us or go outside? Thanks. If you've looked at the fabulous Vegas Square Food anthology that we all got in our program back, that is even we didn't have that as a model because it didn't exist. But you're trying to do that and more for all of the clubs. Because we don't take on small projects, we're not like that. And so we're mostly winging it, but what we're looking for, number one, are contributors. And I think we're gonna end up handing the microphone to Ted for part of this, or Sandra for part of this. I'll just start it and get into details right away. Ted, you have written a number of kind of perspectives, histories of Port Blues. I grabbed the one from, where it's been the traditional approach from the Port Blue 19 website, I think. But we would love it if you went, I could pull together all the old ones you've written, and if you wanted to take a quick longer term look at all of them, or if you would like to write something else about Port Blue, we would adore that. So can I put you on the spot, and does anything sound interesting? I'm asking you to write for our fanzine.
Please elaborate.
Okay. You have written in the past a number of articles that have been in past Port Blue program books that kind of give the overview, as the person who has attended the most Port Blues of any of us. And it used to be you and Art were holding, both of you had been to all of them and nobody else had, and then Art come off and we had you. Um, and we'd love your perspective at this point of what you would like to write about Corfu over time.
I kind of feel like I already have.
Okay, and what I'm saying is I could pull together, you've got materials from all the other stuff. We could pull together the ones you've done, send them off to you, have you review those, say, yeah, I'd like this one in, or gee, I'd like to work on this one and update it some, anything like that.
I could do that.
That'd be great. So,
I mean, I have one in the current anthology, both an introduction and also a guest of honor from previous Las
they
Vegas.
just, yeah,
But I have to say that when Nick asked me to write the one for this year, I do not feel it was my best writing.
okay.
And I told him when I sent it to him that I thought it was a piece of crap. But, there's only so many times you can say the same thing.
Right, is there something different you'd like to write about? I mean, because we tapped you a lot to write history.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's different tacks you can take. You can talk about the culture of Corfu. Has it evolved? I don't actually think it has. I think that although the shape of Corflus has evolved over the years, the spirit has remained identical since the first one, which is we're celebrating fanzines and fanzine family.
And I was not at the first two, but I would agree that this place feels so much like Corfu 3, except I know a lot more people now.
Well, nobody got pied in the face this year.
Yeah, let's keep it that way. So far, so good. Tom,
I think we should have a comprehensive review of all the things.
oh, man. Pat just asked why didn't she bring anything to throw up here? Okay, that could actually fit in with some really evil ideas that we have for this. Because that could be a collaborative, everybody thinks like, okay, I'll take the banquet for Flu 3, or oh my God, the horrible banquet we had at Flu 6, which was Lutheran church lady lunch. And having little restaurant reviews of the different banquets.
Unfortunately, all of the pictures I have of banquets are backs of people's head, like, can't stand to get in front of them. So, yeah, pictures are good to do too. Did you tell them about your book?
I have not talked about the book yet. Is it down on the thing? Because I was going to suggest that we just hand it around during the session. I have compiled a list. I did a spreadsheet which was all the publications I could find in my own membership list. And by individual name had every Corfu that we have a record of them being at. And I'm asking everyone to annotate, review their own listing. Sometimes we have them under multiple names. So what name, do you want the multiple names listed, or would you like just one name used for this, for the record? Pat, are you Pat Mueller, or are you Pat Jersey, or are you both? And there's a list of all of the Corfus on the larger purple sheet, and the codes for what the different M for member, if they didn't differentiate, A for attending, S for supporting, C for committee, C50 for Corfu, 50 guests, GOH for guest of honor, Pat Corfu, etc. And just if you could, take a look at it, pass around, and I'll have it around all weekend. But we really want everybody to review their individual one. We've already got several editions, and if there's a Corfu you were a member of that you didn't attend, please put DNA or did not attend next to thing. And if you do it in blood, then we can do your DNA testing. Should I, can I? Yes,
It takes a while to wake up. A lot, like most of them. Yeah, because they've changed over the years, the backs of our heads, some of them are a lot shinier than they used to be.
and then the other, we are gonna be kind of data heavy. Much like the, um, maybe it wasn't such a good idea to have people reviewing the book. Oh, we're good. Pardon?
Not in this bubble.
Not in this moment. Okay. Okay, sorry. We just have to be more interested. So we're gonna be very dynamic. In addition to, here's all of the members and all the purposes we've been at. And people from the UK can advise of just how much individuals are breaking down the privacy things by having this information. It's all available online. Or most of it, no, some of it's my records. But, so we're gonna collect all the Club Blue logos we can. We're gonna, basically a whole lot of, here's the list of all the people who shared Club Blues, here's the list of, all the different lists we can think of, we're gonna have that.
Oh, and the badges.
And the badges, yes. Badge. Yeah, yeah. All the t-shirts and the t-shirt artists.
I had a pretty good collection in College Station.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to stop nattering away and kind of ask folks, what would you like to see? We can share with you, sure. Okay.
Yeah, we have another one.
Rob, Tommy also has a roving mic.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now Pat's got a mic, maybe it'll work, we'll see. But both, I'd like to open it up pretty brief for what would you like to see it have a permanent, big fat book?
And then why don't you write it?
And what do you want to write?
I'd like to go on record that we were the first science fiction convention ever to broadcast the convention over the internet. And the WorldCon saw what Bill Mills and Artie Katz did, and they tried to copy it after the WorldCon, and they not as successful.
Which is saying a lot on some of the effort.
Yes, Senator?
Well, following up off the back of that, I would like to say, I think that Corfu has probably, led the way in being thoughtful about issues of accessibility in general. And the fact that, perhaps our community skews rather older than the average community of fandom may give an explanation for that, but I don't think it takes away from our achievement. So please go away.
Oh, also historically, we were the first convention to have continuous online chats happening during the convention, and it goes back to internet relay chat. Before we had Ustream, we had internet relay chat sessions. So.
Can you write, I'm not familiar with the IRC stuff.
Oh, I have to look that up.
Okay, good. It sounds like Nigel has some of the chat sessions too. Just a second, we got email from somebody who has all the chats from one of the work groups. Is that? I'm sorry, my memory is shot.
Yeah, it's only Friday.
I don't have many dials. Only use.
It might be the cat who has all of the. Cat, are you there? Can people on the stream talk to us?
Yes.
Yeah. And unmute, or ask to unmute.
Okay, sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
Were you the one who sent us, some samples of the chat?
That
from
was
Andrew?
Lenny. I believe it was Lenny that did.
Okay, right, right, okay, sorry, my, as I say, my brain is shot, which is. You remember, thanks, Kat. And Kat and Petra, what would you like to see in, any kind of big book of Corfu, memories and experiences and everything else?
That's a tough question because I've only been to the one, so
How about something covering unusual items that have been up for the various auctions?
I was just talking the other day about the Corfu 3. I, well, actually, cool, okay, this is a cool story that ties to this weekend. And that's that at Corfu 3, in the auction, I bought, a photograph that was the cover of Pawn of Walden Snake Mine, with a little mailbox and the letters in it, and everything, Walden Snake Mine. I understand it's really word, not a snake. And I bought that at the auction. And then, 3 years later, Jeff Schultz and I were getting involved. And he was visiting Toad Hall for the first time. I was giving him the tour just before Corfu 6. So that was 84 to, okay, now I'm confused. Yeah, 86 to 89. So we get up to my attic office and there's this photograph on the wall of the same mine on cover with the actual photograph in it. And Jeff looks at it and said, I took that picture. And last night here at Corfu, Dan gave me the little Wally is demised, his little plate didn't hold up. So Dan gave me the little mailbox with the little, one of the little letters in it. So kind of this whole, and that's for me, Corfu is this time I need thing. Something that I got at my first Corfu that then was significant, a good relationship with my life. And then all these years later, Dan hands me something I didn't even know still exists. And it's totally wrong.
Talking about timeline, some minor fascinating fact, and that's as far as I know, there is no other annual atomic or social event that manages to be held every year despite COVID.
Absolutely.
And in person.
In person.
Yeah.
There were ones.
We held it in person.
Yeah, we held it in person. And it got very, very lucky. Yeah, I'm not aware of it.
So what does that make a smarter student?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So I
Go
was
ahead.
curious about, one shots, interesting one shots, because, I remember the time at Corfu Choir where we grabbed paper towels in the barbecue joint and putting in one shot. It almost made me cry because I was such a true. Curious about that too.
Just that.
Yeah.
That was at a county line barbecue.
All right, well, Jerry and Pat both know this, but I uncovered the old Voices of Fandom website that Bill Mills used to run. And it contains a number of testimonials from various people on what Corfu meant to me, as well as almost the entire online program. So, including one of Andy first place, and also Nick McFerry's harmonica solo, and Art Wigner singing. And that's all up there.
It sounds to me like you make sure that Jerry and Pat got the link to that.
He sent it to us.
Oh, good, you have it.
Okay, now we're going to play it.
So they are being driven by our somewhere here in Las Vegas. I didn't think it was as scary as everybody else does when they run.
Did he have key lime pie?
What?
Did he have he ordered key lime pie
I wrote, I just remember
to drive?
the drive.
Okay.
The other thing is I realized I have the large scale poster version that Dan did of Corporal Z logo on my wall. So that.
I'm gonna have to do some research on this, but I remember from the second core flu in Seattle, was, first of all, it was a core flash. So it was
The potlatch and purpose.
yes, and one on 1 week and one on the other. One thing I need to research which one was first, I don't remember for sure. But
Potlatch.
potlatch, okay,
Yeah, even though it's called core flash, but it's potlatch.
yeah.
Potlatch comes first.
So in the week in between the potlatch and the core flu, I think it was a Thursday night. 8 or 10 women and myself went out dancing. All the male members of the convention stayed back and hung around in the top suite. Yeah, we had a great, of course, I need to research the membership list to remember, try to remember all the other dancers. And we went to this great bar on dance place on Capitol Hill called Neighbors, which is very straight and friendly. We had a good time. Then when we started to go home, I found I had locked my car keys in the car. Oops. And Susan was unable to come get me because I had the car. Trying to figure out what to do. Called, didn't have any numbers. We called AAA members at AAA, but you know, at that time, there were two QFC supermarkets on Broadway, but one was 10 blocks from the other.
And you were outside one of them, right?
Yes, because the AAA went to the wrong. Anyway, it was ours. I have to thank Iran Rouse, who's here, of course, who was the person who kept me company while I was waiting. But I'm going to try to write this up in a little bit more detail about names and send that. Anybody else?
Joe had his hand up earlier.
So why don't, so. How's that?
Rob, connected Joe.
Memorable trips to memorable trips to
That's a good one.
Dinners.
Memorable
Dinners.
dinners.
So I remember in '92, when we went to a park in Manhattan Beach, and we got lost, not just going there, but we got lost coming back. So it was like,
Was it at 9 minutes core fleet when Joe Watson ended up there like there was concrete rubble and
'92.
yeah, that's 9 minutes core fleet, wasn't it? LA?
Say the fucking name, say the place of the name.
Not LA 1992 core fleet 9.
That is where Joe West fell on his head.
Yeah, it came back all the way.
But all the people fall.
Let's listen to Joe next.
No, I was just going to suggest that, you might want to try to find ask people to just do a few short, pieces that you can use to intersperse with some of these larger.
Yeah, interliners, sidebars.
Almost, yes. You know, a humorous bit here, something else silly there.
That'll help balance it out, yeah.
Yeah, just to get it, back and forth. I mean, there's certainly a lot of short little things that somebody, you might get more contributions that way too.
Yeah, you know, one line, 2 lines.
Sure. I know when I did an auction for you, my favorite memory of that in the Minneapolis auction was Art Whitner and Anna Vargo bidding over a copy of Fancyclopedia 1. And they were going on until Anna was counting her pennies, and then people started just giving her money to keep bidding against Art.
And I just kept the auction going, even if it was only a few cents each time, which, you don't normally do, but it was a nice little silly. And, but there's a lot more and better stories than that, sure.
But those that ever captured people, you know? Yes, Sandra.
Well, as I was just saying, yeah, I'm thinking of, bodily injuries, stainless.
Tristan, when you say you just fell on my head at Joe Wesson?
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember, and I was at the club where all the cats fell off the stage and hurt and stuff. And also at the Winchester Club where the fell over and had to, Rob Jackson had to suddenly put his medical hat back on and help patch it up.
And the Corfu softball,
Right.
That was Winchester, yes.
That was my proposal is as a tangent of that is Corfu's history with softball,
yeah,
because that would naturally tie in with.
yes. And there seem to be becoming more injuries over the years, which I think might have contributed to why we don't have softball games anymore.
What year was the last softball games? Of course, it was certainly before I started going to.
Too many people can't run the bases. Mostly in softball.
The best Corfu softball game was played at Port Lieutenant in Madison in a driving rain,
The driving rain.
just constant rain. We were all covered in mud. It was so much fun. So like a soccer game.
There was one softball game in Leeds. The only British softball game.
There was also a softball game.
There was one in Stevenage.
Yes, in Stevenage, before the 1985 World Cup. No, it was
Yes, precursor is a only Corfu that was not a Corfu. Softball.
I have photos from it. I took photos. I never ran bases.
We played twice that weekend. And the second time we came, there were local children. who ran behind the The Americans! The Americans! This is what we come to it for discussing sports ball.
One of the things that I could maybe make into a little vignette is, I remember I came to Corfu because Fred Haskell, before he was, became President of Haskell, we would road trip like down to conventions in St. Louis or whatever, and share gas expenses and stuff, so having a passenger on your phone. And he started, he was coming to Corfu 3 and suggested I come along, he was flying to it. And I was like going, so how would we, how would that save any money? And he said, well, we could share a room. And despite reputations that both of us had, Fred and I were never involved with each other. And I went out and I bought this terry cloth, this great big, gorgeous teal terry cloth robe, great big sleeves, took out 3/4 of a suitcase, but to have a robe to be able to wear in the hotel room. And so that was with someone else, John. Fred had never been to Corfu before, and Fred normally plays guitar and does music at conventions. He just knew that was not appropriate for Corfu. So we wrapped his slide projector, used my robe to wrap his slide projector. And he brought a slide projector and showed photos onto the Corfu on probably Sunday night or maybe Saturday night. But the change from, the first thing I knew about Corfu was not a place for music. And then years later, we've got people doing musical performances and grand plays and just, it's like, hey,
Hey, Jerry,
yeah.
speaking of Corfu 3, 2 things. One, there was going to be music in Corfu 3.
Yeah,
Which,
your band.
yeah, it was basically me and Matthew Moore. But it took so much time and effort to tear down the setup that I had at home with keyboards and whatnot, that midway through like, in the second hour of tearing down, said this is impossible. We're not gonna do this, so there was no music.
Oh, no, I know there was.
The other thing about Fourth of the Trade that is perhaps more memorable, particularly one person, was we decided to organize the program as a living fans. And, which was, I think, reasonably successful as I mean, we actually had letter columns. We had comment after each item. Which was important. But the cover was, something that Dan had dreamed up. Dan Steffen being one of the co-chairs of the con. And that was a cover that on big poster board with a hole cut out in the middle for a person's face. And the guest of honor, picked from a hat, of course, would put their face through that hole.
Yes, I remember it was long. I have
And
pictures of that too.
the guest of honor turned out to be Teresa Nielsen Big. She put her face through the hole, and Dan promptly pied her.
And I believe
Which everyone appreciated except for Teresa. That was memorable.
It was very memorable, and as I remember, it was your telling of it, it was real whipped cream rather than like shaking cream. And she was wearing like her favorite silk blouse that never recovered, aside from the shock of the beat.
She never said a word, although that's probably why she. That's all.
So one of the other things we have is, in that membership list, is a whole bunch of people that like, we came to one, who the heck are they? So that would also be a real help is to figure out, I mean, I know like some of them were local fans that came to help out, like the Corfu Ocho, in El Paso, but, you know, some of the other ones, it's like a complete mystery.
Like most of the British fans who went to the school who very likely never went to the club, including of course the best bowler, John B. Wiggins, who went before one was under the British court who passed away, for instance. Maybe what you should do is pick a few of the names that are most obscure and run them through Ancestry. And maybe you could like tell their family life story without really still knowing who they are. They are actually. Ridiculous.
Actually, here's something. Whilst you know, in my own student co-chair of this kind of thing, I was looking through the archive section of corfu.org, and I was quite surprised to find out how many of the more recent Corfus have incredibly sketchy or practically no information compared to some of the earlier ones, which have very full info and, you know, notes of some of the higher ones. So perhaps, you know, as a side effect of your genius idea here, then, you know, we may be able to expand upon that and make Corfu.org's historical section a little more thorough.
I do have to say that the Corfu website, compared with all the other convention websites, it's a gem. There is so much information, and of the more recent ones, what there seems to be is more as a link to their website. So there isn't like the retrospective or a lot of information, but you can go to their website and see everything they have.
And Andy Hoover may want to speak to the issue of recovering lost information from old Corfu websites.
Would you like to, Andy?
Or at least, I don't know, if you remember, you were telling me, like, the program book from Corfu one, there were program books that I thought Andy was saying that they exist somewhere.
site. And so far, so if anybody else has anything to add, happy to do it.
But it's true that we don't yet have a complete set of all of the issues of the Philtone zone from the first two corporates. So that is kind of my personal hobby course. I was supposed to get those from Terry Frost a couple of years ago. So that, yes, if you have a full set of the corporate publications.
Let me check with Terry Floyd. I'll see if he has. See if he has them. To back up what Jerry says about the recent websites, for example, if you want to read the Corfu Crack program book, which he refers to, the very detailed Corfu memories, which is about 30 or 40 pages of that, you can get it online now. Like that, you can pretty much all the recent Corfu.
He shows the history page on Corfu.org.
Yeah.
The convention, there's a link that says archive website, and that's everything that convention had as of the convention date.
Exactly.
As of the convention date.
And there are some that have links to,
Very few organizations, conventions of any kind. Have big problems.
so, and there are some old, like, there's somebody's, convention report, when I was doing the membership list, I was going and reading their convention reports where they named people who were there, it's like,
He's asking,
so quick. We have a very. Okay, the very last page has all the codes. The Richmond Core Flu is the only, well, they went through and published a thing afterwards in the stars for attending members who were actually there in person. So if you just have an A, you weren't like me, you weren't there. If you have a star, you were there. Or at least they thought so. Tommy, what time should we finish up? Because we got started at 8:30.
10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Next half.
That seems good to me.
Yep.
Thanks.
There's a subject I haven't heard mentioned yet, which is the fan awards.
And aside from just having a list of all the fan awards for the winners, what do you think we should write about and talk about on that? And then Mike will go to Claire next. Yeah. And if you have more thoughts on what that
Well,
should
we
be.
brought back, on the occasion of the first Las Vegas sport. And we have never missed a year since. So they've become an enormous part of the event. That's 30 years that they've started. So,
all the results are on the website.
Okay,
there's a
Rob,
lot of other stuff, like, you know.
Rob, please give the mic to Claire. Rob, please give the mic to Claire.
And the public at the convention some years, and Elmer Purdue, an investing fan. Several years after his dad. So, there are many more points to touch on. Maybe I should write that, we have volunteered to do.
That would be great. Not nearly as much fun as what Andy has just mentioned. I just dropped something into the Discord chat this item saying, I'd kind of like to mention this to you, but it might be too nerdy even for your project. In the Discord server of this convention, someone asked a question while the fan award voting was open this year about having found Nick's incomplete register for the several years that he had administered the awards online, and so therefore have seen not only some listings of what had been published at the time, but also the results scenes, which I know some other administrators have done as well. So we managed to find a few others from earlier years. I mean, all of the last 15 years or so, the ones that were either online, being shared around otherwise, and have gathered those. I'm sure there are others, I know Andy's done them. And if that's of interest, they won't be there for every year, but maybe some of those could also be reassembled for more detailed nerdy sats for those who might want if you're interested. We've got one there.
And next to Tom, Tom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The other thing about the banner board is actually is the award design. So,
Yeah,
you know, actually getting pictures of the awards and what they look like. Having produced two of them.
yeah, I now I have to look it up, but there was a year where they never got produced, and I won one that year. So- Tommy's got,
What about the history of sort of
right. Which started in the late time in '84, right?
There is a list. Yes, that's when they started.
But then they came to Berkeley, like,
They don't follow with some history in this.
Could we have some more information about the accomplishments of the past president for their
Oh, complete picture.
that ties in with some of what we would like to do very, very well. Now what we need is who should write that?
If you write it, I will publish it.
Tommy,
Tommy.
And just got the history of the Spirit of Horsley thing on the table there. Where'd that come from? We did that, yada.
yeah, I think Nigel could write that.
I think there have been various different ideas about,
Turned it on.
so
That's,
there have been a number of different called flu memorabilia or mementos that were passed down. Some of them last very long. There was Peter the Fish at one point, but a few others.
Peter the fish.
Peter the Fish, yes, he was a large pink object. Yes, so there was.
I've never heard of Peter the fish.
He didn't last very long.
Was he tasty?
Yeah. Except he was a bit woolly.
Oh,
He was a soft toy.
okay. I had okay, Pete's got something.
It might have already been mentioned, but I don't think so. I didn't hear it. The outings from the courtrooms. As well as, yeah.
Some of those have been.
Rob over there.
Well, I don't need the mic, okay. I just wanted to say, it reminded me by looking at the t-shirts that were for sale on the table, a portfolio, having done design, at least a half a dozen t-shirts. Portfolio of all of them would be really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nigel says
And
he's
I'm
got
not just saying it, my.
Pictures of a lot of them, so that would be good. And that also leads to the general photographs. We would love photos, and I don't know whether I want to like set up some kind of Google share or something else for people to dump photos.
Well, speaking of the colourful t-shirts, I have a very clear memory that someone took a photo that was happened to be about 8 or 10 people, all wearing different colourful t-shirts in the room at the time at College Station, and someone assembled them all and took a photo. Who it was? That was just. There we go.
Who was that? That was Nigel? We want that photo.
It was, yeah, I don't know when you did it.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, my mistake, I remembered it was a group shot, evidently I was, I'm pretty sure. Okay.
I was astonished at how many of the t-shirts on here.
And I was astonished that I managed to get them all in the car. Okay, let's close out. I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but I would love for some people to just talk about, well, just a little bit, like, okay, why do you come to Corfu? Why do you travel however far, and why do you want to get to Corfu in the years that you don't get there?
It's a family reunion.
Yeah, we're gonna just get old friends.
Do we have anybody, I don't think we have anybody in the room who's at their first Portland. Pardon? Second. Welcome back, Linda. AC, have you been to one before? Is this your first? Welcome to Portland.
There's also,
No, I did the membership list. There were several people who Portland 41 in the first one, but their numbers are.
there is one elephant in the room. And I don't really know what I think about it, but that was Ditto. Which was a Corfu copy, in a sense, but somehow it never caught on. Not that many compared to Corfu, certainly.
20 years?
Yeah, 20.
Gary Madden, you know, in San Francisco, I just remember Gary Madden, he's, you know, in San Francisco, that happened, Jerry, you were at that. I remember.
I wasn't at all.
Maybe I misremember.
The only dinner I was at was in Chicago, and I was going to visit my dad in Michigan, and I drove from Minneapolis to Chicago, and I was just gonna go to Ditto like on a Friday night and then drive on to Dallas on Saturday. On Battle Creek, except that I had so much fun, I stayed over another day, it was a day that.
So why do you think Ditto failed? Is there only room for one convention at this time?
Possibly, but I'm just remembering that one in San Francisco. Thank God the earthquake came the day after.
I just did in El Paso, 13 of us, and we all fit in the elevator.
That, Karen Cooper was at that dinner. And Karen Cooper was at that dinner, and that one I got confused because the El Paso list for Corfu, it seemed incredibly improbable. I got a piece of paper that says it's the member list, but there are people who have been to no other Corfus who were members of that, or people who were a member of Corfu 8 and then worked at another Corfu until like 33 or whatever. And there was a bunch of it. I just told her, I thought that was an aspirational list. But she was there and she said, no, a lot of those people were there. So I was remembering the El Paso Ditto as being impossibly small.
No, it wasn't small at all.
Richard Brandt really kind of deep pushes, and not a lot of people that went to other Texas and Mexico to come to that corner.
But he also, there were members like from the UK who had never been to another American Corfu, but were members of Corfu Hotel.
I think it partly answered Ted's question about Ditto. It always felt like the B team.
Yeah, it felt like the Whitby zone.
Yeah.
Not geographically, but intellectually and psychologically.
Not always, but yes.
And if I can be rude here and add to that, okay, I can see this will be something, except that it also was someone with a chip on their shoulder, hated who went to Portland.
That's only Dick.
But yeah. Yeah, and the same, yeah, and so that was, someone who went to a Corfu before, it was really, I mean, that whole stopping by for a night was, I was not sure what kind of welcome I would get, because I was a Corfu person. What was I doing at dinner? I got to go to dinners and I had.
We started, the idea was Corfu was gonna be on the West Coast, Ditto would be on the East Coast, and vice versa. That way, if we couldn't afford to get to one, we could get to the other.
But that makes it like an aspect. Yes, yeah, and the Ditto t-shirt over there is from when it was in Minneapolis.
Seems like a pale copy. Less people, less interesting.
So we're almost touching an even bigger question that's more important to the history of Portland. What was the role of topic A, if Genesis of course.
Sit down and shut up, Andy.
Are you volunteering to write that, Andy?
Yeah.
Cool. I think we could just have the article like that and like every other word would be redacted.
So just to close out the ditto conversation, Dick and Leah turned up to the 2016 Chicago walkthrough.
Yes.
Their local walkthrough, but only there for 7. So they didn't want to think the 6. I wasn't.
I think it's because Leia has some mobility issues.
They're now doing a lot with, or Leia is just doing a lot with fan action, which is cool in terms of the interest in fan history. So we're gonna wrap this up. But I don't want to put people on the spot so much right here in the room, but we want to leave the end of this weekend with a list of people and articles or vignettes, and we would adore, pictures or anything. And like AJ, like, what's your first run-through like? What's your impressions like that, fresh new? Because I wrote up my run-through report. It was published in Ruin. It was my first, I think, kind of published in a fanzine thing. I didn't publish a fanzine when I went to my first run-through. It was an app hack. That wasn't a hack. I was just an idiot. But I can go back and I can reread that report and remember the wonderment and the things that happened in that first workload. But a bunch of us have been to a bunch, and we do want to be welcoming, and we do want to meet new people, but it can be hard when you're in a room full of people who have known each other for 25 or 40 years, who are all, and don't get to see each other often enough. And suddenly you're going, what's topic A? What the hell are they talking about?
The show was a little hard to walk into.
Yeah. Well, okay, Rich Brown. I walked into the comm suite with Liz Lee, and Rich Brown looked at me really friendly. I didn't know him, and he asked me if I was Joan Hickey Birds. And I was like, no. But then I talked with him a little bit. What don't I know? How did I just fucking pass? I will fight. We're rooming together. I will find out what she has to say.
My first Vegas call, thought I'm gonna have to
Okay. Okay, I need to breathe now. So, but Rich was running the sales table down like there was a room off the back of the program room. And Rich, it's like I met Brother Chattanooga here, and Rich told me to stop by the table the next day, and he would give me a copy. And I stopped by at the sales table, so I'm like, okay, I'm here, and you're supposed to get this. And he gave it to me. And the fact that he gave me this thing that was there for sale just really got, it made me feel special. It made me, it was this welcome that, and I was a little like, it's like, okay, well, okay, that's neat, but okay. But it just really stayed with me. That was 1986.
Your co-host of their back.
Hey, okay. We're wrapping up, honest with you. I flew in with Fred. We're at the airport to get the shuttle to the hotel. Fred knows Pat. I met Pat then. I did. I had a stuffed rabbit named Dancer, and luckily fans were much nicer to me with my stuffed animal than they were to other people who came later to Fort Blue and worked out like a won't. But we say that I met Patrick and Tracy Nelson. I learned that Walt Willis wasn't dead. And they had stayed with it the year before. And things that became incredibly important in my life and highlights of my life, I can trace dozens of those threads back to 423. And so when I look at you know, why do I keep coming in? Yeah, that ended up being an informative experience. And I recognize part of it is fine, but a bunch of it, it's looking back when that started there. You know, like that started there. The next year at the Fort Blue banquet, Ted had read my report in the previous one and praised the report and stuff. And those things all make you feel part of the family. I really appreciate it. Nigel.
So I blame Ken as well, I always have, because I became more familiar with Corfu from Pat's reports, children in Texas SF inquiry. And that's like what inspired me to want to get and to run a Corfu equivalent in New Zealand in '86. So that's your fault.
To run a Corfu equivalent in New Zealand at age 6, is that what you just said? You can write that one up, okay?
We got kicked out of the hotel, to a new hotel, midway through two families.
Unlike other conventions, I know we had Tudor Nightmare Villages where several years in a row, the cheap hotels in Seattle and Minneapolis and stuff were these Tudor Nightmare Villages. Yes, yes.
There was one in LA. Also.
Okay.
The Cockatoo Inn.
That wasn't true, yeah, that was both too.
It was both
Oh,
a nightmare and a village.
And run by Matthew.
But we don't have many hotel nightmare stories.
But that's something to list out. Hotels.
The Normandy Inn was the one. Now I'll be nasty again. And Gary Farber, like, and told me everything I was doing wrong with my hotel negotiations.
Well, that's super.
So, a closing comment from Tom and maybe from Pat, and then we will wrap this up. And thank you all for coming and chatting with us. And you know, I didn't even ask, okay, should we even do this? Because, you know, a bunch of this is online, but we don't actually care whether you want us to do it or not, we're gonna do it, so. Please give early enough. A word.
Don't forget the chapter on Don Fitch.
Oh my God, bless his sweetheart.
Don Fitch program.
I might need to write the chapter on that pitch. Wow.
Two chapters.
This guy too?
That's a message.
We have recording and phone speaking.
Thank you.